Hi, welcome to Flow and Go. Nice short energetic class for you today. If you have a strap, grab one of those and have it handy. We'll be using that fairly early on. Otherwise, if your knees get particularly sore, you may want to have a folded up blanket or something like that for underneath the knees. Or if you're not comfortable sitting in a seated position without a little cushion underneath, maybe a cushion or a blanket just to raise your hips up. So other than that, coming to start in a seated position when you're ready. And bringing the hands into your lap, perhaps palms up, so either one hand inside the other in a kind of a bowl shape, or maybe palms open on the knees and allowing the eyes to close. So when the palms are up, this is a great position to start an energetic practice in. It allows energy to come into the body. So maybe as you begin practice today, as you inhale, imagining with each inhale that you're drawing energy into your body and filling it up from the top of your head to the tip of your toes. Feeling your body expand as you breathe in, filling with that energy. And maybe as you take these breaths, you begin to feel a lightness in your body, an openness. Maybe there's a bit more space that you can create across the front of your chest. Maybe a lightness in the jaw, in the shoulders. Maybe some space in between the eyebrows and that part of the forehead that can get really tight and carry stress. Inhaling space and energy into all of those places. Allowing your body and your mind to be open to receive practice today. Whatever it is that your day has been like so far, creating a little bit of space as you inhale, drawing in energy into your body for the next couple of breaths. On your next inhale, allowing your eyes to open and maybe taking a few rolls through the shoulders. Maybe a shrug up to the ears, deep sigh back down. And then grabbing hold of your strap when you're ready. So we're going to come into cow face arms. So if you're familiar with this pose, you might want to come into it straight away. Otherwise, what we're doing is reaching the right arm up, bending the elbow, so palms facing towards your back. Maybe it sort of touches the back of your neck. And then the left hand comes behind the body. So left palm to the back of the room, bending the elbow. Now, it might be that if you've got quite a lot of openness in the shoulders, that you get a little bind with the fingers here. But for most of us, you're going to want to have your strap in your right arm as you do that. So lifting it up, bending the elbow, and then you can grab hold of the strap quite comfortably. So taking a few breaths once you're there, I'll show you what this looks like from the other side. So if you're using your strap, then actually, even if your arms are quite far apart, you can still get that openness through the chest. And really seeing if you can get that right elbow to reach towards the ceiling, so reaching up, opening up through the back of the arm here, through the shoulder. And on your inhale, releasing the strap, allowing the arms to come down by the side, taking a little shake. And you're ready, coming on to the next side. Before we do that, we'll switch the cross of the legs if your legs are crossed. It's just good for the body to take the weird cross, the one that doesn't feel normal. And then reaching up with the left arm. So if you know that you need your strap here, you might want to have your strap in your left hand already. And bending the elbow so that the palm comes to the back of the neck, reaching down the body. Right arm comes behind, palm to the back of the room, bending the elbow, and then grabbing hold of your other part of the strap, unless you've got that bind with your fingers. So really focusing on getting this part of the body open here. So reaching up with the elbow towards the ceiling and taking it to where it feels comfortable. So being really mindful if you know you've got a shoulder injury or if your shoulders are really tight. But seeing if you can find some openness. So don't worry about the hands being super close together. Sometimes when we force the hands close together, what we actually do is kind of cave in the chest, the elbow comes forward, and we miss the benefit of the pose of getting this openness across the front of the body. So breathing in for a couple more breaths. And then on your next inhale, releasing the strap and the arms. You can put the strap off to one side. Now maybe you give the arms a little shake. When you're ready, bringing your feet out to the side, coming onto all fours, hands and knees. We'll take a few cat-cows here. So opening up the fingers so they're comfortably wide, bringing the knees underneath the hips, gaze down in between your hands. And on your inhale, allowing the hips to rise, chest draws through the arms, maybe lifting the gaze, coming into cow. Exhale, tucking the chin, rounding the spine, tucking the tailbone, coming into cow. So coming through once more with this one at your own pace, inhaling, opening, expanding through the chest. And exhaling, tucking and rounding. On your next inhale, coming back to center, tucking the toes under, pressing through the hands, lifting your hips, coming into downward facing dog. And starting off here by taking a generous bend in the knees, so allowing the spine to become long, the head to become heavy. And then perhaps you'd like to take a pedal with the feet, opening up the back of the legs really gently. So as you exhale, maybe the right heel comes down, coming up onto the left toes. And then inhale up onto both toes. Exhale, left heel comes down. So really slowly listening to the body, pedaling through the feet. And noticing, being curious about what's going on in your body. Maybe one side feels tighter than the other. And then finding your way back to center, you can have your knees bent here or begin to straighten your legs if that feels better. On your next inhale, rolling forwards to plank and lowering the knees down. So we'll come back to our all fours position, checking your knees are still under the hips and hands under the shoulders. And then from here, option to take a little balance. So you can stay with your cat-cows if that feels better. Or if you'd like to take the balance, as you inhale, you're lifting the right hand and the left leg. So the right arm comes beside the right ear, and you're reaching forward with the fingertips, reaching back with the ball of the foot. Taking a couple more breaths here, seeing if you can really engage the abdominals, lifting up through the abdomen, so preventing any kind of, if you're noticing your back's wanting to curve and round, seeing if you can get a feeling of lifting up there. And exhale, lowering everything down. So you might want to take just a little hip circle here to release your lower back. And then we'll come on to the other side. So if you're coming into that balance, this time you're lifting the right leg and the left arm. So bringing that left arm alongside the ear, keeping the gaze down to keep the spine long. And then again, really lifting up through the core if you can. So getting a sense of the navel drawing towards the spine. And the abdominals wrapping around the sides of the waist, so that will help you to have a little lift up through your core there. And if you think that you might be kind of arching through the back, seeing if you can tuck the lower ribs in, and that will help to support your lower back. Taking one more breath here. And lowering everything down on your exhale. Maybe you take a couple of little circles with the hips, a few times one way, a few times the other way. And then when you're ready on your next exhale, pressing through the hands, lifting your hips back into downward facing dog. So option to keep the knees bent in downward dog. You can play around with pedaling the feet again. Maybe you begin to straighten the legs. Whatever's feeling good today for you. On your next inhale, stepping, walking, or floating, coming to meet in halfway lift at the top of your mat. Bringing hands to shins, drawing your spine long. Exhale, releasing into forward fold. As you inhale, slowly rolling up through the spine, arms come out to the side, reaching up overhead. And palms come to center in front of your heart. So we'll take a couple of sun salutations here. On your next inhale, hands reaching forward this time, lowering the hips, coming down into chair pose. So taking a little check to make sure that the knees are not beyond the toes, so making sure you can still see your little toes. And maybe seeing if you can tuck the lower ribs in. That will help to bring the spine long at the back. As you exhale, releasing into forward fold. Inhale to halfway lift, spine comes long. Exhale, hands by the feet, stepping back into plank. So maybe for this first one, you want to bring the knees down, untucking the toes, bending the elbows, lowering all the way down to the ground. When you get there, your choice, inhaling into a baby cobra, maybe taking a little hover with the fingers, or a deeper cobra if that feels good today. As you exhale, lowering down, and then pressing up to find your way back into your downward facing dog. On your next inhale, your right foot comes forward in between your hands, and then lowering down the back foot, so you're having the back foot flat to the ground, bending into the right knee, rising up into warrior one. So in warrior one, the hips are facing forward. If that's not feeling good with the back foot down, feel free to lift the heel coming into a high lunge. So that can feel better for some hips. So if that feels better for you, feel free to lift that back heel. As you exhale, hands by the feet, spinning onto the back toes if you're not already there, and stepping back into plank, lowering down, so either knees down or knees lifted if that's better. As you inhale, coming into baby cobra or a deeper cobra. And as you exhale, finding your way back to downward facing dog. On your next inhale, stepping your left foot forward in between your hands, grounding down your back foot, bending through the front knee, rising up into warrior one. Feel free to take that high lunge if it's feeling better today. Otherwise, reaching up tall through the fingertips, seeing if you can tuck those lower ribs in like you did in chair pose, so allowing the spine to stay long. And exhale, hands by the feet, spinning onto the back toes, stepping back to plank, coming through your version of chaturanga, so maybe you lower down with the knees lifted this time. As you inhale, coming into upward dog or cobra. And exhale, back into downward facing dog. Taking a few breaths here in downward facing dog. Reaching high with your hips and grounding down with the fingers, the knuckles of each finger. On your next inhale, stepping, walking or floating, coming to meet at the top of your mat in halfway lift. Exhaling, releasing to forward fold. As you inhale, bending the knees back into that chair pose, reaching tall, staying strong through the legs. And inhale, rising up to stand. Palms come together in front of the heart. So we'll come through that one more time. Feel free to take any variation that's feeling good in your body today. As you inhale, arms reach forward, sinking down, coming into chair pose. On your next exhale, releasing into forward fold. Inhaling, drawing long into halfway lift. Exhale, hands by your feet, stepping back into plank, coming through your version, maybe chaturanga, maybe staying lowering all the way down to the ground. Untucking the toes, coming into cobra, maybe upward facing dog. And exhale, finding your way back into downward facing dog whenever you're ready. On your next inhale, right foot forward in between your hands, grounding down that back foot or taking high lunge, keeping a bend in the front knee, rising up into warrior one. As you exhale, cactus in the arms, lion's breath. And then bringing the arms behind the back, interlacing the fingers. As you inhale, opening up through the chest. And then exhale, coming into humble warrior. So bending forwards, your right shoulder comes inside of the right knee. And the gaze comes to look at the back ankle. And maybe the arms can rise up a little bit, calming over the head. So really allowing the head to be heavy here, to relax. Grounding down really firmly through the front heel in particular, and the back foot. As you inhale, rising up, leading with the chest. Arms come up back into warrior one. And then exhale, hands by the feet, spinning onto the back toes, stepping back into plank and coming through your version of chaturanga. Inhale, upward dog or cobra. And exhale, downward facing dog, lifting the hips high, grounding down through the feet, through the hands. On your next inhale, stepping your left foot forward in between the hands, grounding down that back foot, preparing for warrior one on this side or high lunge if that's better. As you inhale, rising up. Exhale, option to take a lion's breath, cactus arms. And then bringing the hands behind the back, coming into humble warrior on this side. So interlacing the fingers together first, opening up through the chest. Exhale, shoulder comes inside of the knee. Gaze comes to the back heel, the back foot. And then maybe there's a bit of space to lift the arms up and overhead. So really grounding down through the front foot and through the little toe edge of the back foot as well. So feeling that support coming up through the ground. Taking one last breath here. On your next inhale, rising up, leading with the chest. Arms come up overhead. Back into warrior one, reaching tall. Exhale, hands by the feet, spinning onto the back toes. Stepping back into plank, coming through chaturanga one last time, whichever option feels good for you. Inhaling, upward dog or cobra. And exhaling, downward facing dog, big sigh out through the mouth. Taking a couple of breaths here. Opening up through the back of your legs. Maybe you take a little nod with the head side to side. On your next inhale, stepping, walking or floating, coming to meet in halfway lift at the top of your mat. Exhaling, forward fold. As you inhale, bending the knees, one last chair pose, reaching forwards with the hands and seeing maybe you can sit down just a little bit further this time. Inhale, rising up. Exhale, hands to prayer. Whew. Okay. So option to play in a little balance here into tree pose. So if that's something that feels familiar to you, you might want to bring the foot further up the leg. If you're new to tree pose, then feel free to take whatever option feels good for you. So starting by grounding down into the left foot. So bringing the weight into the left foot, keeping the right foot on the ground for now. And finding a little spot to focus on. So maybe you have a little mark on your wall or it's a picture, anything that's not moving really. So it's what we call a drishti in yoga. It's a point that helps us to focus. Bringing the hands to prayer. And then lifting the heel of the right foot from the floor. And bringing the heel of the right foot to the ankle of the left. So the knee will start to open up. And you can stay here if that's feeling where you want to be today. There's no pressure to lift the foot from the ground. If you'd like to take it into more of a balance, you can bring the foot either to the calf or you can use your hand to help bring it to the thigh. So wherever you are, really seeing if that knee can open outwards. So even if the foot's on the floor, seeing if you can get a sense of the knee opening outwards, so getting into the hip here. And if you do choose to lift the foot from the ground, and seeing if you can get that sense of the knee still lifting out. Option on your next inhale to reach the arms up to the sky. Don't worry if you wobble here or if you fall out. Taking one more breath. Exhale, bringing the hands together in front of the heart. Lowering the leg, a little shake out with the legs. And then we'll give it a little go on the other side. So you'll probably find you're more balanced on one side than the other. So feel free to adapt as feels good. So this time grounding down into the right foot, bringing the hands to prayer, finding a little spot to focus on. Lifting the left heel, bringing the left heel to the side of the right leg. Maybe you stay here, maybe you lift the foot to the calf, or maybe to the thigh. So wherever you are, really seeing if you can get that openness with the knee, opening out towards the back of the room, and then really lifting out of the pelvis, standing tall and strong in this position. Notice as you ground down the security that comes from the ground. Inhale, option to lift the arms up. You can sway around, trees like to have a sway. One more breath, reaching tall. Exhale, hands come to prayer, bringing them back down. And then releasing that leg when you're ready, taking a little shake. Bringing the feet wide on the mat, so bring the feet right to the edges of the mat. Exhale, down into forward fold. Maybe you bring the hands to the ground, maybe you want to bring a hand inside each elbow. Take a little ragdoll here, maybe a sway side to side. And then when you're ready, bending the knees, bringing the hands down to the ground. You might want to bring the hands behind the body. We're going to come down to sit. So once you get there, bringing the right knee into the chest, and then we'll take a little twist to the right hand side. So you can either hold onto the knee with the left hand and bring the right hand behind the body, or if you want to make the twist a little bit deeper, you can bring the left elbow outside of that right knee, maybe the palm faces up, faces out even, and twisting like that instead. So whatever feels best. If that's too deep a twist, feel free to stay holding onto the knee and opening up instead. As you inhale, coming back to center, straightening out the right leg, little shake of the legs, and then the left knee draws in. So same on this side, keeping the left hand behind the body. So either the right hand can hold onto the knee and you can use that to help you twist through the upper body. Or if you want that deeper twist, you can bring the elbow outside of the knee, palm facing outwards. Maybe the gaze comes over the left shoulder. So feel free to take this twist as big or as small as feels good. You can take a really small twist here if you're feeling quite tight, so no pressure to have to take a really big twist. Maybe as you exhale, there's space to go a little deeper if that's feeling good, having a little feel into what feels good for you today. On your next inhale, back to center, both hands behind the body, little shake of the legs. And then scooting up about halfway and lowering down onto the ground. So from here, keeping the feet about hips width apart, option 2, come into bridge pose. So if you bring the feet to about hips width apart, and you should just about be able to touch the very back of the ankles with your fingertips if you bring your hands down by your sides. So once you can just about feel them, that's about where your feet probably need to be. And checking the feet are parallel. And then from here on your inhale, pressing through the feet, lifting the hips. And maybe you come up onto the top of the shoulders to allow the hands to interlace underneath the body. So really seeing if you can get that lift through the hips here, and also getting a feeling of the knees sort of moving towards each other as if they're holding something in between them, but they're not touching. Maybe your eyes come to close. Using your breath to fill your body. On your next inhale, allowing the arms to come out to the side, rising up onto the tiptoes, and then lowering down as slowly as you can, one vertebrae at a time, all the way down to the ground. And from here, lifting the feet, bringing the hands in between the knees and taking hold of the feet either on the outsides or the insides of the feet, whatever feels most natural, coming into happy baby. So the soles of the feet are parallel with the sky and getting a sense of the knees drawing down towards the armpits. This could be a nice position if you're on a carpeted floor, maybe not a hardwood floor, to take a little rock from side to side. And maybe closing the eyes. Taking one more deep breath here, finding spaciousness across the front of your chest. And exhale, slowly lowering the feet back down, bringing the feet down to the ground, taking a little windscreen wiper with the legs from side to side. And then when you're ready, legs can come up flat to the ground, or you can keep them bent. Coming into Shavasana, opening up the body in any way that feels good for you. Allowing your eyes to close. Your body surrendering to the mat, becoming heavy. Maybe noticing the different feeling of energy within your body now that you've done practice, and how does that feel different for you? Maybe your body feels more alive, maybe it feels more open, more spacious. Allowing your breath to fill these new spaces that have been created. And if you're able to stay here for a few minutes longer today, then absolutely go for it. It's so good for the body to be in this place. So good for the mind to be in this place. Thank you for joining me today. Namaste.